All right. Hello and welcome to Backstage with Gig Performer. We are going through the genre series. My name is Brett Pontecorvo, and you might know me from Live Keyboardist, but if you've been following along for a while, then you have been with us week after week as we have been going through what is really important about how we set up our material inside of Gig Performer. Joining me today backstage, we've also got co-founders David and Naboja, who are fantastic musicians and also happen to be fantastic at building music software. So they've created this program really to meet the needs of their own playing. And as a result, we've got a really cool program that does very interesting things. And one of the things specifically that is unique about Gig Performer is that it is very much you build whatever makes sense for you. So when we've been moving through the genre series, we've seen a super wide range of use cases for this particular software. So a couple weeks back, we had Bruce Moore from the Fringe Benefits Band on Backstage, and he shared his MIDI guitar setup, which was actually quite complex. He was doing some really incredible things, and you can check out that video on our channel, and I'll also put a link in the description after this. And last week, we actually had Robert Martin come on, who was doing something that was very simple, but I think it speaks to the versatility of the program. Both of these setups worked for what they needed to perform live, and Gig Performer really allows you to get to the music quickly. So this week, I'm really excited because we have a friend of Gig Performer coming on today. Igor Paspalj is coming on. He is the 2020 Electric Guitarist of the Year. Also happens to be just a fantastic man, great teacher, and just a wealth of knowledge, a really seasoned musician who is using Gig Performer. Now, before I bring him on, I definitely want you guys to know you can check out what he's doing outside of Gig Performer. He's got an EP that he released on Spotify, which has some fantastic playing on it you'll want to check out. That's called Striptease. He's got a YouTube channel with lots and lots of videos and playing that's also fantastic. And if you're trying to go a little bit deeper, you're like, Igor plays amazing. I really want to get to know how to do what he does. He's also got a course that you can check out as well, where he kind of goes through how to speed pick, I guess is the basis of this course. He'll talk a little bit about that. But I'm actually going to bring Igor on right now. And we're going to talk through his Gig Performer setup and how he's using it and get to know Igor. So Igor, welcome to Backstage. How are you today?
Hi, Brett. I'm great. How are you?
Doing very well. Happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's a real pleasure. It's a real honor, Igor. So before we get into the nitty gritty, can you just tell me or even the people who are watching, what is it that you do? Tell us a little bit about yourselves and then we'll kind of go from there.
Oh, where to start? I can say I'm professional. I can say that I'm a professional musician because I live from this.
Yes.
That's how I make my living since I know for myself. I have a master's degree in music. I used to teach at university, music theory, music harmony, and all that way I kind of led double life while I was like music theory teacher in university and stuff. During the day, I was a musician. During the night, guitar player. Mm-hmm. And some 5-6 years ago, I kind of deviated from that academic kind of career, and I just dedicated myself to playing, to performing live, to recording in studio, and that's what I'm doing for last 25 years, and for last 6-7 years exclusively only that. Recording, playing with different artists, designing courses and master classes for the various companies, and that's it basically.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Igor, I want to talk about Gig Performer, but I'm fascinated by this question. So before we do that, what was like the straw that broke the camel's back? At what point did you say, I'm going to stop teaching? Was there an event that happened, or did gigging pick up? How did you transition from doing the academia to playing?
Again, I was doing basically both of those things. I was doing them simultaneously for years. And then the point where it stops when I moved to Dubai in 2014. I spent there last 7 years before like Corona kicked in. And when I moved to Dubai, I continued my both academic career. I used to teach there in American School of Dubai, one very prestigious school. I was a guitar instructor, and at the same time, I used to play. But it's a different thing there because there you're performing every single night, and then working every single night. And I had this little misfortune, little weird circumstances that I used to teach in Dubai first and perform in Abu Dhabi, which is 150 kilometers away. So every day there was like a 300 kilometers ride to work and back to the gig, and to work and back to the gig. And then eventually I just figured out, if I need to decide between these two, I'm after all, I'm a guitar player. I'm perform. That's what I do. That's what I like. So if I need to sacrifice my academic career, well, let be it.
Yeah.
So I did.
Yeah. That's interesting. So it was like a personal shift for you because you're a musician, you're a guitar player, but there was also a cultural shift because you moved and you are suddenly in a place where you could be playing every night.
Exactly. And yeah, it happened for like almost from 7 years that I spent there. 6 years I used to play 6 days per week, 11 months per year. So it was like 1,700 gigs probably in the last 6 years, which is quite a handful.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. I also love that because there's something to be said. Like it's very easy to look at somebody like you who has the type of playing chops that you have and say that, there's something, super unique. But like Igor, you've clearly put in an unbelievable amount of hours working on your instrument. You're just 1,000 gigs, right? I mean, that does something to your playing, right?
Well, definitely. I mean, and it's probably the best experience I had in my life because during that period I used to perform, United Arab Emirates in Dubai, and it's a very specific place with so much expats. I mean, expats are basically 90% of that country. So I used to play with guys from, musicians from Philippines, from Mexico, from USA, from UK, from literally dozens of bands before I settled with the band from South Africa, which I used to play last 3 years exclusively. And playing with so much people, so much different cultures, and it's absolutely amazing experience. It was great. It was awesome.
Did it stretch you? Like when you started playing with all of these different bands from all over the place, did it stretch your playing to a point where you felt like notable progress because you were playing with people from so many different areas?
Yes, not so much notable progress, for example, to directly to my playing in terms of, my technique or something, but definitely in that, in that environment and experience, of getting along on stage with different kind of people, getting, so many situations where you have to play songs that you maybe heard sometimes, but, okay, let's do it. Let's jam it. So yeah, all this kind of stuff. Yeah. It was quite a great experience. I mean, I love it. Definitely something that I'm so grateful on my time spent there. And unfortunately, then came Corona. Maybe I'm gonna go back, maybe not. So we'll see what's gonna happen next.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's a crazy story. I didn't even know that about your story. That's awesome.
Well, yeah.
So we're getting to know it. It's awesome. Okay, so fast forward, like you're using Gig Performer a bit right now. How long have you been using it, and how are you using it? What was the transition like?
Yeah, well, when I came here, when I first discovered Gig Performer, I have to be honest. Before that, I kind of abandoned, using. I used to use plugins first somewhere around 2009, 10, 11. To be honest, when I didn't have that much money, for some more expensive equipment before, and I used to use at that time like Guitar Rig 2 and stuff like that, and it was great. I mean, I loved it. Amplitude 2. It was, I think, actually first Amplitude 1, then Amplitude 2. But then, when I moved to Dubai and everything, you buy yourself, Fractal XFX and then Kemper and stuff. And playing live every day, it was just like a logical way to go. I'm not gonna mess with this. I don't have need for that. And then, but since that time, let's be honest, since 2009, 10, where all these, I'm talking now specific guitar plugins. I cannot talk about keyboard plugins, but I guess probably it applies to everything. It came long way through. Same as the digital modeling, from for guitar. So when you compare plugins now for guitar that companies made and plugins from 2010, it's a huge difference. So when I actually discovered Gig Performer, and when I get, oh, okay, like you can control a lot of plugins like at the same time. There's no latency. Cool. Okay, let me check. I was literally out of this world for like a 4 or 5 years. I was like just hearing something about like new plugin. Oh, there's this one, but wasn't, to be honest, bothered to try them. And then when I got the Gig Performer, I actually tried some plugins. Now they sound, they're on pair with gear that I have, Fractal XFX, Kemper. They're on pair because computer processing, that good. Everything, shifted everything. So it just now it sounds really, really amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you kind of ended up, you dabbled for a long time. And then when you came back to it, the improvement made it seem like an option that could work for you.
Exactly. I mean, my first few days with Gig Performer, actually not first days, maybe months. I was actually caught myself, using Kemper. Still, I have Kemper here. Maybe, yeah, you can. You can see it. Yeah, it's turned off. So I was using Kemper, and sometimes, when I'm recording, just like let me try some of these sounds from THU or from. Oh yeah, that's it. Like, and I'm just not bothered, to turn on Kemper. And then I forgot for like a 2-3 projects that I'm recording, my guitar is just plugged into interface and just keep recording, on these plugins. Although I still have a Kemper and XFX. So it's so good. It's really, the sound is so good. And now what I'm doing now, I have some series of little concerts here, actually small master classes for, smaller audience because of Corona and everything. And I'm actually just gonna bring my laptop and sound interface, and I'm making my little setup for these masterclasses to use Gig Performer Live, because since I'm doing it here at home, testing it, I never had any glitch. I never had any reset or some abrupt weird thing that would be embarrassing to get live. So far so good. So far is great.
Sure. And for the guitar players who are watching, like you mentioned that there's no latency. Like, what are you running Gig Performer at? Like, what are your sample rate and buffer sizes?
Actually, it's pretty low right now. It's I think it's at 16 or 32.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it's 32 right now.
Okay. Yeah.
32.
Wow. That's and that
I can literally I cannot feel. I mean, well, I cannot feel any latency. So
that's great.
It works
Igor,
great for me.
Would you mind showing us what you're working with in Gig Performer? Can I share your screen and maybe you can show us a bit around your Rackspace?
Yeah, sure. Just a second. So let's do the screen share.
I have you here. Just let me know when you're ready for me to put it on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we do it now?
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
So what I'm using, in the intro you mentioned that you had these two guys, that one of them is using really complex MIDI guitar setup and stuff.
Yes.
And the other guy is using very straightforward setup. Well, my setup, I have to be honest, is also pretty straightforward. Actually, what I'm using that one template that comes when you purchase or get Gig Performer, that guitar template. I'm not sure what it's called right now.
I think this is Guitar with Master Effects.
Yes, exactly. Guitar with Master Effects. I'm using that one. And actually, I'm also using, it comes with the 4 presets. Each one of them has 3 variations. And actually using them, only tweaked a little bit according to my taste, my guitars and my playing style. And I also added few more presets from some other VSTs. So in template, you get a presets from THU Overload guitar plugin. I also added some Shufam Rack S2 presets. And what I'm doing, one expression pedal is controlling the overall master volume. Now I don't have it hooked up here right now because I forgot it in my other apartment. But other one is usually controlling amount of delay, actually level of delay when I'm playing.
Gotcha. So you have the delay running as almost like a send, or is it linked to like a dry wet?
What do you mean exactly?
Like do you, like your like amount of delay? Is it like you have like a clean signal and then you also have a delay signal and you're bringing the volume up, or do you have like within the plugin itself, are you turning the dry wet knob with that controller?
I'm just turning. You can see, you see on the my delay
Oh,
effect.
yep.
So
Okay, gotcha.
all the way.
Yep,
So for example, from some dry sound, so you can get some different atmospheres. If you're playing, for example, you can stay on one single preset and play some, I don't know, some rhythm.
hmm
And even fiddle around with stuff, like with these swells with pots, when you turn up the delay all the way up, with these crazy effects. So you can basically get a few different atmospheres by just manipulating with your expression pedal.
Yes, absolutely. So you were mentioning that you're using a couple of different plugins, but like with these ones, did you change anything like within the wiring? Like, did you switch out any
Actually,
plugins here for
no,
this?
no. I
Okay,
just, I just literally changed like EQing and maybe whatever. I'm actually not sure now exactly what I changed
sure,
comparing to original template. I
sure.
just changed some EQ. Maybe I changed the cab on some of them just to get sound that I like. But I mean,
hmm
it's straightforward when you get the purchase of Geek Performer. You straightforward. You get this great setup, which like literally 95% of gigging guitarists are using. You have like, as you can see here, this is, I mean, the numbers 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 actually, sorry, 3.
hmm
You get these 3 presets with 3 variations.
hmm
So basically I have them mapped to my MIDI controller, have the buttons that are, you can just switch variations. I have my preset changes, and literally you get, again, like what 95% of guitar players literally need to go through the gig.
Yes. Igor, you're saying something here that I want to pop on and then we have another question, but
Mhm.
like, you were playing every night, right? And earlier we
Well,
were
not
chatting.
not not right now, but yes, I used to for almost 7 years. Yeah,
Yeah. So like when you're playing that much, so okay, so Gig Performer has the ability to create set lists, right? Where you can have an individual guitar sound for every single song. But when you're
exactly.
playing the way you were playing before, you were like you decided not to do it because it's just impossible to keep up.
Uh, well, for me, it was impossible to keep up because I used to play in cover bands, and we had for example, my last band, because we were playing every night, in a huge venue in Dubai, like with weekdays, 1,500 people, weekends 3,000-4,000 people, and we used to add like literally 5-6 songs every week. We had eventually we end up with repertoire of active like 400-500 songs. It would be almost impossible to do that now. I guess the option for the set list and for people who really use, like, they want to nail the specific song guitar sound for specific songs, would be more for some cover bands that do like tribute bands, I guess. If you do like,
Mhm.
I don't know, Queen tribute band, and you're playing literally 25 songs per night, and literally you play that all the time, in my opinion, that would make sense, to get really like, oh, I'm gonna get the Bohemian Rhapsody rhythm sound and solo sound, like to nail it really to get it right.
Yeah. Yeah, it does make sense to me. Like the more I think about it, but you were saying that it's really only four sounds that people use. So if you were like talking to a guitarist who is trying to get really close to a particular type of sound from somebody, like aside from getting like a decent amp or a decent plugin, like what would you say the secret of imitating someone's guitar sound is?
Well, I guess it's more about first of all, knowledge how that sound was created. If for example, there's a lot of people neglecting some basic guitar stuff. For example, did he play that stuff on the bridge selector or neck selector? Because, for example, that's a world of a difference. That, and there's no sound that you can make it that is gonna sound that way if you get it wrong. And then did you dial up the volume a little bit? Did you dial up the tone knob, a little bit? So for example, I don't know now to get some example, but if you have let me just see. If you have okay, here's some so full blast guitar that you can maybe play, I don't know, let's say riff from Yngwie Malmsteen. Now you want to, for example, play on the same sound. I'm not touching anything. I don't know, the Sweet Child of Mine of Guns N' Roses. What do you need to do on the same sound? There's a lot of gain on this sound. Sweet Child of Mine, let's say intro, doesn't have that much gain. So what are you going to need to do? First, you're going to need to bring the neck pickup. Now, it's played on a humbucker. I have here single coil, but whatever. So you're going to dial up that gain a little bit, and you're also going to dial back a little tone a little bit. To get that single coil has this, this crispy sound. You need to tame that a little bit. And on the same sound, you can sound pretty much. And stuff like that, for example. Then you need to play, I don't know, the solo from whatever, from November Rain. You're going to add a little bit of atmosphere, a little bit of delay, and still you're going to dial the even gain a little bit more, the tone knob a little bit more. So again, it's not exactly the same, but it's in the ballpark, right?
Sure. So the summary of all of this, right, is like you have to start with the instrument before you send anything into whatever you're using.
Instrument, sound, same example. You want to play, the I don't know, the Mark Knopfler Dire Straits. I mean, whatever sound you make, if you play, I don't know. So let's say. Just a second, sorry. Okay, let's turn on the delay. Where is it? So if you play Money for Nothing, I mean, obviously, if you play it with a pick, it's not gonna work no matter what sound you have. But if you play it with the fingers, again, tame a little bit these highs stuff and.
Yeah. Hey, Igor, just out of curiosity, it seems like we maybe lost your actual effects.
Really?
Or like, I think I might be hearing the clean. We were getting all of your effects earlier. Do you think anything changed?
No,
it's okay if it.
I was just switching presets. Wait, what about now? Just a second.
Yeah, I think I'm just getting your DI. That's
why that happened.
I'm not sure. Are you just pulling the feed from your audio interface?
No, I didn't touch anything. That's the thing.
All right. Well, we have a question here from a Fractal user, and I think that actually might be a good thing to jump into here. So, what advice do you have in making the migration, and what wahs, delays, wah pedal settings have you found to be the best?
Wait, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Can
it should be on the screen right under your face. Actually, I can see you kind of have it open.
I can see some from David asking to turn on an.
Oh no, other side. There's here. I'll
comments.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, somebody say we are hearing his direct unmapped sound.
So, well, this is the question though, Igor. I've got somebody writing in who said, as a Fractal user, what advice do you have in making the migration, and what wahs, delays, and wah pedal settings have you found to be the best?
I guess that applies to the Geek Performer.
Yeah, or whatever plugins you're using to get those effects. Like, yeah, if you were moving into Gig Performer, you were
Yeah.
looking for a good wah sound, where would you start?
Yeah, well, to be honest, not sure yet, because even with the fractal and Kepler, I still was using, physical wah pedal, but
Uh-huh.
just for the sake of saving my expression pedal for some other stuff, just for that. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, in terms of how to deal with all these effects and stuff, it's basically same in all these plugins, same workflow as in Kemper and Fractal. Same kind of tweaking, changing cabs, changing wires, changing this. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, there's literally not single way. Only a piece of advice that I can give somebody is just to try to find the plugin that he prefers the most, because they're all really really pretty good. I mean, all
Mm-hmm.
of them: Overloud, S Gear, Amplitude. I don't know. All of them are really really good. So depending what kind of amp are you looking for, what kind of sound, you should definitely trial some of them and see what works best for you.
Yep. Yep. It makes a ton of sense. And then I've got another question coming in about your specs, your computer specs. So they said, what kind of Mac PC are you using and what are the specs? I have heard Gig Performer is very CPU friendly compared to Mainstage. Do you know what year your laptop is?
Yeah, of course. It's MacBook Pro, 16 gigs of RAM, 512 SSD, E7, but it's actually late 2015. It's pretty old. And
Okay.
now I'm looking now at the CPU. It's like 8% with all
Okay.
these plugins
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah. So look,
So it's
it's
here. I'll pull it up so people can see what you're.
so I'm changing.
Demo.
So it goes look from 14, 16, then 7,
Oh wait,
13, maybe.
can you pull your screen up so we can see it on
Yeah,
top of the
like
screen?
this,
There you
right?
go. Yep.
So look, it's like a 10%, 7%, 9, 15, then jumps to 15, goes back to 11 and all. But there's literally not a single, audio dropout or something. Now, I'm curious why we cannot hear the process sound, because when we tested a few minutes ago, you could
R-
definitely hear it, right?
right. Yeah. So I'm not really sure what happened, but I think it may just be what it is. I don't know if we go down that rabbit hole. But I'm for those who are tuning in now, we had we went down the rabbit hole of figuring it out, and anyway, here we
Yeah.
are. But you did mention you're using a couple of other plugins that didn't come with that guitar template. Can you show us what you're using? Is that
Yes, exactly.
sure?
So first three, just a second. So first three, Dark Face, Rock 75, and Modern Channel 2, they came with the template. Then I'm
Yep.
using this, Shufam Rack, which is it's one S Gear, very very cool plugin. I'm using one
Yes.
sound from there, Plexi, especially,
Okay.
and using also one sound from the same plugin for the solo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
I
I have
love.
one more actually. Yeah, I just started working on this one for some more heavier stuff, but it's
Uh,
also it's a THU again. But now
okay.
I don't know.
And
Is
is
there
that
a
the
plugin?
full THU?
Sorry.
Is that the full THU or is that the
Yes.
THU that can't? It is. It's the full.
No. This is full one. Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
But
So
if,
for
if
those.
I'm if I'm not wrong, these presets that come, these first three, they're pulled
Mhm.
from the THU that comes from Gigs Performer, right?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. So
Yes.
again, I could work with that alone also. I mean,
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
already great presets with three variations each. For any giggy musician, it would be more than enough, because I'm also kind of a little bit conservative. It basically almost simulates some like some analog setup. What I'm using here, look, I'm just using this global Rackspace,
Hmm.
and almost like a pedals. You have turn on delay, turn on chorus, turn on reverb for every single preset, literally same settings.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Right.
almost like you
And
have analog pedal board, and you're engaging your pedals for various sound and what you want to achieve.
yes. So for people who maybe don't know for sure, when you're talking about the global rack space, what are you doing there? Just to give people an idea of kind of what.
Literally stuff. I just tweak the parameters of these
Hmm.
effects. It literally
Hmm.
comes with the chorus pedal,
Hmm.
with the
Hmm.
delay and with the reverb, and I just have mapped these controls, to my MIDI controller, which is from Fractal Audio MFC 101 Mark III has a
Mhm.
lot of buttons, and it's really versatile. So I just mapped it to buttons like literally like analog pedals. I have a map
Mhm.
my button for chorus, for the delay,
Mhm.
for reverb, and that's it.
Yep. And so basically everything comes through this rack space before it hits your local rack spaces.
Yes,
So
exactly.
so when you were showing those new presets that you created, you were basically running first through the global rack space and then
Yes.
into those plugins. And were those plugins just cabinets or were those amplifier settings as well?
No, it's also amplifier settings, like full
Okay.
presets. Yes.
Okay. So you work with really one set of EQ, compression, all of that stuff, and then you're really just adding a tiny bit extra to that sound um, to change it to make it be something else.
Yes, exactly. Right on.
And and with what you're doing now, like, are you still playing a ton of cover tunes, or is this mostly original music?
No, actually, now these master classes that I'm working, it's 100% guitar instrumentals. From Yngwie
Mhm.
Malmsteen, Paul Gilbert, Satriani, and some also my own instrumentals. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. And just in between the songs, I'm having conversation, talk with the people who come there, talk about some guitar techniques, showing some stuff, discussing some stuff. So yeah, and also for that, I literally need like literally few presets to cover that all these rounds.
Yeah. So if you're watching right now and you have any questions for Igor, pop those in the comments, and we'll see what we can do. Get him to answer some of those questions. So if you were still playing a ton of cover music, would you still mostly stay with these four?
Uh,
The four types of sounds. You were saying 90% of guitar players really
yeah,
are only using, yeah, four.
exactly. That was the same thing that I'm now trying to. I'm still not done with my setup on Gig Performer. But literally same thing I used to do when I'm playing live with the Fractal and Kemper, who also have like a tons of possibilities and stuff. I mean, literally eventually it ends with like a 4, 5, 6 presets with few variation. That's it. Some
Yeah.
delays, some chords, because again, I'm kind of traditionalist in that sense. For example, I never play 6 string, 7 string guitars, 8 string guitars. I don't like this kind of stuff. I like more the more simple setup. It's just easier to coop up with on the stage and everything, and it
hmm
still sounds
hmm
good. If you know what you're doing, you can get all these stuff pretty much. Even if it's a cover band, you never aim. I've never played in the cover band that's like a tribute band that aims to
Right.
get every sound perfectly. So it's just what works
Yes.
for me. And
Yep.
if you see, if you think about it, from the days that the guitar, when the guitar started and everything, people had an amp on stage, people had a pedals on stage. That's it. So this is similar, but this is again even more, because, for example, these 3 presets that comes with, it's like a 3 different amps immediately. So it's like you have
hmm
3 different amps, but the effects that you're using are pretty much same for everything.
Right. Yep. We got two questions coming in for you. The first is from Michael, and he said, "Have you tried the Mercurial Audio Amp Sims?"
I know, I heard about them, and I intend to try them. Not yet,
Yes.
not
Yes.
yet, but I heard great things about them.
Yes. He said he's blown away by them too. And then we've got a question coming in from Glenn Short, which I believe he means, "What MIDI floor
Yeah.
controller are you?"
It's a
Uh,
Fractal Audio MFC 101 Mark III. So yeah, it has a lot of buttons, and it's really versatile. You can set up, you can literally make any kind of program change, control change. It's a really versatile, great build controller. Not very cheap, but a great one. Yeah,
yeah.
it
And
was made. It was intended to use for use with the Fractal Audio XFX2. Now there's XFX3. They have a special controller and stuff, but it's this one still, as a general MIDI controller, is great.
yeah. And if anybody who's watching, like, you don't need an expensive MIDI controller.
No,
Anything that sends MIDI will work. Igor,
Ac-
do you use all of your buttons?
no, I didn't use them. Even for Fractal, that is meant for use like everything. No, I'm still using like a first row, five buttons for changing presets. Then I have
Yeah.
like a variations up and down button. and 5 buttons for changing, for engaging effect like a chorus on and off, reverb, delay, and stuff like that.
Yeah. So like,
And sorry to interrupt you.
yeah.
I also have a Behringer 1010 FCB MIDI controller, which costs literally $100, and it can do all the same things as this fractal audio system can do. And this costs like, I don't know, it costs, I mean, this one is discontinued, obviously, like a fractal XFX2, but it costed like $600-700. And the Behringer do the same thing. Difference is build quality, stage endurance and stuff like that. But yeah, any MIDI controller, literally any MIDI controller can do same things as this one.
Right. Yeah, because the guts of everything lives inside Gig Performer, which is
exactly
very cool. We've got another question coming in. I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this one, but how long did it take you to learn all these things about effects from zero until today?
Oh, I don't know. I guess it was a process. You learn something, then you kind of think, okay, I know about that. Then later, it's maybe not that like that. Maybe there's something else about it. So it's really, really hard to answer that kind of question. And still, I mean, there's still some parameters, on some of the effects, either in Gig Performer, or Overloud. I'm not in Gig Performer, in plugins or in Kemper, that I'm not quite sure what they do, and I just don't fiddle with them.
Right. But I do think that's the attitude of somebody who's going into a performance situation just trying to make music. Like, if you don't know the knob and it's not hurting you, then you do what you have to do to get the sound out, and then you go play music.
Exactly.
Right? Like,
yeah.
That's like, a pro musician gets the music out of their instrument. Keeping it simple, I think, is really, it's part of what makes Gig Performer really useful. Like, you can get complicated, but also if you're somebody who's like, I need these 4 sounds, I need it to work every time, I need it to switch without popping, I don't want my computer to turn off, need a light setup, here it is.
Yeah, one of the things I was really, when you mentioned popping, I was amazed, how it can switch between completely different, different plugins and everything so seamlessly without literally, 1 millisecond of the. I mean, obviously, if you can hear dry sounds, we cannot show this, but really, when you play the power chord, stuff, and when you change to everything, literally you cannot hear. I don't know what you're hearing right now. Obviously, you cannot hear the process.
Yeah, it's like I can hear it in the background coming out of your speakers. It's really bizarre, Igor. It's really bizarre.
It just happened, right?
Yeah. Well, so when we tested it yesterday, I heard everything. When we tested it this morning, we heard everything. Yeah. So I don't know what happened. It's very confusing to me. But,
okay.
Yeah. It is what it is. So, okay. Great. Well, let's see. I guess we have one more question from Glenn. Have you tried the Nectar Pacer?
No. Again, I heard about the controller. Haven't tried it, but I guess if it's a MIDI controller, it looks pretty solid. I think it's the black one with the green knobs or something. I guess if it's a MIDI controller, you can set up everything as any MIDI controller.
Yep. Awesome. So, Igor, can you tell us a little bit, like, for people who are watching that want to like work closer with you, or want to kind of be able to hear more of your music, get in touch with some of your courses, where can people go? What can they do?
Yes, I'm working for a while now for the company JTC Guitar from UK. It's like one of the biggest, largest online guitar learning communities. And yeah, all my packs for now. I have a few master classes for speed picking. I have some playthroughs of my songs and stuff like that. So yeah, everything is there right now.
Okay, great. So I put a link for that in the chat right now, but we'll also add that to the comments later. And then what about if people want to hear you play? Like, how do we get to hear more of your playing?
How are we gonna do this now? Because you can just hear dry guitar.
No, sure. I mean, for like your recordings, or like, where can people access your music on the internet?
Well, I recently released one EP, 6 songs on Spotify, Apple Music, and stuff like that. Is you just just for fun. I have more in the way, but literally 90% of the stuff they can find on my YouTube channel.
YouTube.
So it's like
great.
Yeah, YouTube channel / Igor Paspalj, my name and surname. So I don't know, do you have a link, or but it's quite easy to find anyway.
Yes. Yep. Fantastic. And then it looks like we've got one more question coming in here. Which pedal would you suggest for beginners?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what he means by the pedal. Does he mean for MIDI controller, or actually some guitar processing MIDI effect, like multi-effect processor? So I'm not sure. If it's a MIDI, I can try to answer. If it's a MIDI, well, FCB 1010, it's a great value for money. I mean, it costs $100. It has a loads of buttons, 2 expression pedal. You can control literally every plugin, everything from with it through Gig Performer. So if that's what he means, I guess that would be the answer.
Absolutely. So I'm going to just make sure. David and Aboja, do you guys have any questions for Igor, or anything you guys want to talk through? Glenn just wrote in and he said that you're amazing.
Well, thanks, Glenn. Thank you.
All right. Well, Igor, it's been a real pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. For those of you who are wanting to check out more of what Igor is doing, YouTube, any streaming platform that you have to check out his EP. And you're also on Instagram, Igor, right? Is that true?
Yes. Igor Paspalj Guitar.
Okay. Yeah. And his Instagram, you're very active on Instagram, Igor, right?
I'm trying to be active both on Facebook and Instagram, posting stuff whenever I do them. And
yeah, so that's great. So guys, thank you all so much for being here. Next week is a bit of a strange week for those in the US, where it'll be Thanksgiving Day, actually. Will it be? Anyway, so next week we actually have a premiere rather than a live stream. So that'll be Caffeine Kill keyboard player Mog. So make sure you guys tune in for that. If you're not subscribed to the newsletter, make sure you're on that list so you get kind of notified of it. Igor, thank you so much again for coming on, and hopefully we'll be back again soon.
Thank you for having me.
Yep.